Hey guys, welcome back to another awesome, amazing interview with none other than the national champion and the Pro Tour champion, Matty Foulkes. How are you, bro?
I am wonderful. I'm absolutely brilliant.
I'll bet.
It's been a bit of a surreal 3 days. Well, I say, is it 3 days now? Let me think.
It's almost been a week.
Fourth. It's been like a bit over half a week. It's just been chaos ever since 5 p.m. on Sunday night when I won a PT. It's like it's just been like non-stop, like just so many people reaching out and like congratulating me, like, and so many questions and so much just so much stuff going on. Like it's just been it's completely crazy. I think when I got back to England, my phone had run out of data when I was in France.
Yeah.
And when I got back to England, it finally ticked on, and I looked at my phone and I had like 600 notifications.
Oh my God.
I was like, Jesus, this is going to take a minute. I was like, and I think I'm still working through like a lot of them. I'm just trying to make sure I can respond to everyone. And a lot of people have questions either about the deck or just they just want to congratulate me or whatever. So I tried to respond to literally all of them.
Well, thank you so much for responding to me and accepting to jump on to, our Pokey Little Push the Point channel. It's
I think what you mean is the premier UK Flesh and Blood podcast, actually.
Oh yeah, I think we got 0 to 60 as well, man. They're cool. They're cool.
Okay, but they're good. They're good. They're no push the point. They're no push the point.
You're too kind. I mean, honestly, I will say that the contrast of nationals to now, these wins are just like stellar, and I think that's so much down to how much I feel like you as a person has just grown into like the whole tournament thing, because like from what happened at nationals and then how like to me, like I said, I sat there, I defended the fuck out. Yeah, it was when we sat down and chatted and chilled and played outside the event, and even then, I think a lot of people in the UK were like, were just now rooting for you, and then it's even showing you've won, and you've just got this absolute wave of love and passion and stuff, and I think I was very happy because I was on holiday when you won, and I went to Weymouth, and my wife.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, my wife was like, I was on the phone. I think I was trying to pack up to come home, and I was like being really slow, and she's like, "What's the matter?" I was like, "Oh, I'm just looking for stuff," and I'm just like looking at the phone, watching you play your games. And she's like, "Are you? We're on holiday." And I was like, I know, but Matt Foulkes is in the final. And she's like, "Is he?" It's like, "Yeah, man." He's like, "Wasn't he the guy that won nationals?" I was like, "He is." He's like, "Oh, okay, all right, okay." Can you hurry up a bit? But I don't mind you having your phone on for a bit. And then when I said you won, she was like, "Oh, that's awesome, man." So it's just like everyone like was just rooting for you, man. And when you had it,
yeah,
I was over the moon. Although the Shamir and you one was like that was a hard watch.
Yeah, I know a lot of people in the UK Shamir's a popular guy. Shamir's a really friendly, lovely guy. Right?
I didn't mind. I thought I was like, it was like when you watch the World Cup, it's just like, England to win. Like, I'm just rooting for the boys. You and Shamir. Yeah,
coming home.
Yeah,
it's coming home.
That's it. Like, that's me. I want to see the UK just take this. So either one of you in the final, I was just going to smash and just love it. But when I watched your game, I saw the tremble. I was just like,
it's a disgusting moment, because I just I'd spent in the previous turn, I know I have to block for 5, and I'm like, I look at my hand and I'm like going over and I'm like just trying to desperately make sure there isn't some way other than a Sonata flip I can win the game.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh no, there's nothing else. It's literally only a Sonata flip. Like, I was thinking, like, I can't, like, because I beat Shamir in also a ridiculously close game.
Yeah.
For anyone that hasn't watched it, I have to play a Miniwism into an Overload for 6 when Shamir has 2 armor.
Yeah.
And Overload is if it has Dominate, and if it hits, it gains go again. But if Shamir could fully block, I wouldn't have go again. I wouldn't be able to deal the 2 extra arcane off my Rosetta Thorn, and I wouldn't be able to win the game.
Yeah.
And
wasn't he
Shamir
on
has
like
4
wasn't he on like 3 health as well?
He's on exactly 3.
Yeah.
So I need to be able to deal the 2 arcane from the Rosetta Thorn. If he can block 6, if he has a 4 block basically, which he had some Sifts and some Channel Mount Heroics and some Force of Natures in his deck. I'm pretty sure he had like,
and
I
he
can't
had
remember if it was 2 or 3 blue Sifts, but I think he blocked with 1. He blocked with 1 CMH and maybe 1 Force of Nature, or he played 1 CMH. He still had it in play, I think, at that moment.
Was
and then
it
had a Force of Nature.
Did he have an Earth Embodiment?
Yes, he had the Earth Embodiment.
Oh, okay.
So those cards blocked for 4, and he has 2 armor left. And like I knew that going in, I was like, I literally just have to pray he doesn't have the 4 block. And if he has the 4 block, I lose the game. And so it's like, even my game against Shamir was like if he has the 4 block, he wins. Like, and for sure. Like I die, I'm on 1. I'm on like 5, but he has a Channel Mount Heroic and would have like 3 or 4 cards, and so I wouldn't stand a chance. But I had a good amount of fortune to even be in the final, and then it comes to the last turn, and I'm like, of course it comes to just a Sonata flip for like 10,000 in cash, and then like a lot of extra money in the rest of the prize support. And it's not just about the money, but like also like to win, like, and that also means so much as well. Like, and I was like, oh god. And yeah, you can see when I flip because I think it flips with the belittle Tome of the Arcanine. And then as soon as I knew, and I said before I flipped to my opponent, I said, if I hit, I win. Otherwise, you got it. And then I hit the tome, and I was like, oh my god! And then I almost inted. I almost made like a last second mistake.
I saw you wanted to go for the Rosetta, and this is something that me and Shin were saying, that this is the level of how much of a really, really good player you are, right? Because when we saw that moment, I said to him, I would have just been so excited and got over myself. I would have thought the Rosetta would have done it for me. And it turned out, and he said, yeah, exactly, I'm the same thing. But you stopped yourself and thought, hang on, there is one card that can make me lose the game, which is the Sigil of Suffering, which if that goes, he'll ping you and then you're dead. So you thought, no, I need to actually deal the arcane before the Rosetta even lands. That's why you made the Rune Chant and then the Bramble Sparks. And I was just like,
exactly.
Oh my god! And I lost my shit.
And it's like I hadn't thought about that actually, because in my head I'd found my way to victory, like my route to victory, which was, which was the Sonata Bramble weapon, Sonata Bramble Overload with Go Again and a weapon.
Yeah,
that was how it said. He was on 3, so I was like, that'll be enough. But then I hadn't thought about the Rune Chant being if I found a yellow, because I just thought any card I win the game.
Yeah.
Any card I win the game, and then I realized I'm on 1. Okay, wait. Like it's like as I put down the overload, I say to my opponent, just making sure. And then I realized I haven't even actually resolved my Sonata. I'm still halfway through resolving the Sonata.
Oh god.
Yeah. I'm like, hold on, sorry, I gotta shuffle my deck. Like I was like, sorry, I was like, my cards are literally all over the table. Like I'm just like in a shambles at this point. But like I realized. And then I put my pitch card down like in my chest zone, like the wrong side of the table. I'm just like, oh god, let's just get us over the finish line. Like at this point, I'm pretty certain there's no way I can lose, and I'm just trying to take the physical actions to finish the job. And like, that last turn was like just like it was like
you're trying to get through the order of activation while you're. I
realized and trying to come to, because I actually, so when we played the game, in the feature match area, it's a bit of a different experience really, because we played with noise cancelling headphones, and then you have a microphone.
What's that about?
Well, it's both so that you can't hear the commentators, if they're so there can't be any any incidents where like you might be able to hear the commentators, and then like you have an issue this way, or because there's a lot of spectators in the area. you don't have any problems with that. And so like it's just to help remove that issue.
Wow. Okay. I was sat there for a second thinking like, who the fuck's talking to him? And who are they? I thought it was like, I didn't know what was going on, but it's so.
There's just there's two, like the noise cancelling headphones. You really can't hear anything from much from it. You can hear like maybe just like if someone's screaming, or you're playing or if you're playing Shamir, you don't actually need the headphones. So even if his mic isn't working, you still. I said this to him. I was like, Shamir, just turn the mic off, mate. I got you, no trouble. I got you, no trouble.
I got told he's the decibels of this chap is quite high.
Yeah, you can hear Shamir no matter where you are in this one. That's just Shamir. But you really are, and I actually remember thinking how grateful I was for the headphones, because like it's actually a bit of a surreal situation, right, to play a game with like 100 people sat there just very anxiously watching you with bated breath, right, and like 1,000 people watching you online plus, and like playing for a lot of money. That's like there's so much external pressure in that situation, right, that like outside of just the game that you're playing, which is already very difficult to do correctly, right?
Mm.
But like having like noise cancelling headphones and just like just being like I really didn't ever look anywhere else but the table, and like almost wasn't conscious of the fact that there was like so much going on outside of the game. Just like it helped me. You couldn't hear anything. You were just the opponent and yourself, and it almost isolated you. And like so then when I won and I took off my headphones, suddenly you're just like thrust into this just complete overload of like
Wow.
like information and senses, and it was like, but like it was really really good to be able to just like shut out all the noise.
What an experience that must be to just be. It feels like you're in a box, and then all of a sudden you get out of the box and there's a crowd. It's like Big Brother. And you're like, whoa, what the fuck? There's people.
Yeah, like I just like sat there, and then just Pete just hits me with a hug out of nowhere. I didn't see him coming, and I was just my best friend Pete Ward just comes flying out of nowhere. It just hits me. He was actually, it's a funny story actually. Pete was playing in the Battle Hardened.
Right.
And like he was playing against his opponent, and his opponent knew, and he just didn't care. He just put the match up. He just put the final up on his phone. He's like, I'm gonna watch. It's my friend playing, and his opponent was like, that's fine. Don't worry about it, mate. You know, probably not the best behavior in a match, but you know, we make exceptions in these times. You know.
Yeah.
And he realized the game was coming to a close, and he's like, right, I'm heading out. And the opponent didn't say anything. Like he came when he came back from congratulating me, like in the middle of his game, a judge said to him, you really are meant to ask for permission before you go. And he's like, my best mate just won the Pro Tour. I think I'm going to congratulate him. You know.
Yeah.
And then the opponent as well was like, it's absolutely fine.
Yeah.
You know?
it's amazing to feel
totally okay. That, you know, it was the right time to do such a thing.
I know. It's bro, that's what an amazing experience. I mean, I
feel so blessed.
Like to even hear it now for me, even I'm just like, oh my god, that sounds. Yeah. It sounds. I'm empathizing with you. I'm trying to put myself in it, and I'm like, I can't.
It was truly beautiful. It was truly beautiful. Like
an amazing story.
You almost never win a tournament, and there's not like a next step, right?
Yeah.
Like I can remember still how I felt when I won nationals, and it was very similar.
Yeah.
I think you were still there when I won, right?
Yeah.
And so like I think my reaction was pretty similar in that like I was almost just in kind of a bit of shock and just so appreciative of like how insane that moment is, because like there's only one thing in front of you for like so long, and that's just the game.
Yeah.
And then like even for like hours beforehand, like just the game, you know, just the game. I maybe wasn't quite as focused at the Pro Tour as I was at Nationals, but like at Nationals, I remember just being like the Terminator. You know?
You were locked in. You were so locked in.
I remember at Nationals when I made the top 8. Like after the first day, I was already locked into the top 8, and people kept coming up to congratulate me, being like, "Oh man, that's amazing, good job!" Like, and I remember just saying to people, like, "Please don't congratulate me."
I said it to you.
Right?
I said it to you.
I have 6 more rounds to play, and they were like, "Okay, he's a psychopath."
No, I remember saying that to you. I said to you that because I said, "Dude, you hit the top 8. Well done." And you went, "I'm not here for the top 8. I'm here to win." And then every time you won your games, like day 2, I just went, "Oh, what? I'm not going to say anything." You went, "Yeah, I'm not won yet. I've not won yet. I've not won yet." And I was like, "All right, well, you're in day." I would have been. I said I would have been happy in top 8. And you said, I would be if I wasn't here to win. I was like, oh shit,
Yeah,
oh
and
shit.
it's like I no, but like I would have been like even at nationals, I would have been really happy if I made the top eight and then got knocked out. I would have been pretty disappointed to be like 12-0, lose the first one in the top eight, you go home.
Yeah, yeah,
Like but then after the fact, I would be like, oh my god, I got a PTI, that's awesome.
yeah.
Top eight at nationals, it would have been great, right? But until the point at which it's done, until the point at which the event is finished, I make sure not to feel like satisfied or proud or achieved with the result, because like I posted the same GIF on my Twitter when I made the top eight as I did from UK Nationals, which is it's a clip from an interview with Kobe Bryant,
Yeah.
where he was 2-0 up in the NBA Finals, and he's doing like a post-match interview. They're 2-0 up, which is best of 5, so he needs to win one more.
Yeah.
And they're like, amazing result tonight, Kobe. Haven't seen you smile yet. What's up with that, And he's like, what's there to be happy about? And they hear that like, you're 2-0 up. He's like, is it done?
It's not done yet.
I don't think it's done. And so like that's my mindset. I'm just like, we have more. There's more to be done. And then like as soon as it's done, then it's done. Then it's done. And so like I didn't actually ever think I would win a tournament or have a tournament experience as crazy as I did at nationals. Because like for me, nationals felt like a once in a lifetime experience. Like
yeah,
I both had an amazing deck, and I think I got really lucky throughout the weekend, and also I think I played really, really well throughout maybe not. I made a bunch of technical mistakes, and those have been discussed to infinitum at this point. But I also do think that in general, like the level of my play when it came to the decisions at nationals was really good, and I was really proud with how I actually played the game.
Absolutely.
And so like I didn't ever think I would have a tournament like that again, and so like to have something even more crazy happen is just like they're just out of this world. It's just completely ridiculous.
Well, that's I don't know what more to say. It's like I feel filled. I'm full of just the excitement and like I'm like I said, I'm empathizing your point, and even now I'm like, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed with how awesome that feeling must be. Just imagining that moment. So you've now done that. You've got a title belt to keep hold now. On the 10th of September.
Time to accumulate.
Oh man, it's you. I think you're going to agree with me here. This nationals is going to make last nationals look like a cakewalk in terms of the level of competition now.
Yeah, that's one thing that like I'm honestly actually happy about. Last year at nationals, I think that like
it was good. It was strong.
Like, but I don't think that anyone would debate that I was a mile ahead of the field.
No, your deck was Well, I tell you what, actually, I think you definitely had an edge over a lot of people. Especially your deck was making those plays and those opportunities more. I'm not going to turn around and say I think there was some other people that if they had something if they had the weapon that you had, I think they would have gave you a game. I'm up for that. I love that debate.
For sure. I still think I can agree with that. Probably to the extent where I think that you could probably pick out 2 or 3 players from the room who are. I think certainly many players in that room that could have beaten me on that day. I think for sure. But like if you wanted to find players that were like in terms of skill on my level on that day, I think there is a couple for sure. For sure like Sharif, who I played in the semi-finals.
Yeah.
I played a razor thin game against Sharif, and there was a moment in that game against Sharif where I thought I was going home.
Yeah.
Where it was if he has a press, which I can't remove it from his range because he's played in a way that he could still have the press, I lose the game.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, well, I gotta pray. I hope he doesn't have it. I really pray.
I remember that he was making you think. He was trying to make you block as if he did. Like he wasn't giving it. Yeah, I remember that. I remember that.
Yeah, and Sharif is certainly a player who, I have a lot of respect for. Like I always, whenever I speak to Sharif, I always call him my arch nemesis. In a completely like friendly way. I really like Sharif. I think he's like a lovely guy and like a really skilled opponent, and also a pleasure to battle. Like
Yeah,
we've played both in the semi-finals of nationals. We played in a finals road to nationals last year,
yeah.
which feels like so long ago now.
I
Like
know.
that was the first time I did well in a Flesh and Blood tournament. Was the road to nationals in Glasgow last year, and like I remember it was really exciting because I no one knew who I was at that point really.
Yeah.
Like maybe a couple of people knew, oh, he's just some guy who came from Magic who thinks he's some big shot, right? You know, he thinks he's good at the game, and I was like, no, I'm gonna show him. I'm gonna show him. Um,
I love
so
it.
like, but this year
Yeah,
it's
this year.
completely different.
Yeah.
Like this year, I think the UK community is so strong.
Yeah,
Like,
I agree.
and I was going to say, in extension, while there was players who were, I think, close to my level in CC, I think in terms of like if you were looking at someone as a complete package, I think that while there was some strong CC players, I think in general the UK was very lacking in draft.
Oh, what? Yeah,
Um,
no denying that.
and that's more a product, I think, of people just not having the experience and like not just not having the chance to get exposure to drafting as a format. Because for a lot of the players that hadn't come from, say, Magic, there's a large proportion of the UK community that I think that came from CCGs, from L5R.
Yeah, from the from like Fantasy Flight games and all this sort of stuff. Yeah, they like that.
Yeah,
That was gone, so
games
they all
where
jumped into that.
yeah, games where drafting isn't such a big part of the game.
Yeah,
Um, like they were at an innate disadvantage, and I think a lot of them have started to close the gap. And I think this year the UK is very strong in draft, and we saw that at the Pro Tour with just like so many UK players 3-0'd their pods at the PT.
yeah,
Right.
100%. And then even
And like we had
Jamie Faulkner in the Battle Harden got into the top 4 with it, and
yeah, Jamie's an absolute machine at limited.
yeah, he's
I
so good
was
at
talking
it.
to him just this morning, and he said his limited record in professional level events is 18-2.
It's wild,
Yeah,
wild.
that's outrageous. Yeah, until um, like like until the battle hardened, he hadn't lost a game. Like he hadn't lost a game of limited. He'd 6-0 the PT,
Yeah,
6-0 Utrecht as well in limited. And I think that like because now we have like a fair few like really strong players in different parts of the country. We have Rob Catton up north. We have Matt Light in the mid. I guess he's
is
still
it,
sort of north, but
he's in the mid.
it's
Oh,
it's,
he's in the mid. He's Midlands around. Not. I
it's
love it when
Nottingham
people think
Midlands. I don't
yeah,
know.
Northamptonshire stuff is not the north. It's
No,
the
no,
Midlands side.
that's but when you
Yeah.
have one really strong player, what can do is it elevates the level because that knowledge then is dispersed and like they bring up the people around them, and so like I think this year I would expect draft to be much more competitive.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely, absolutely.
and then
Oh, go on.
by extension as well, like I think we've also seen like so many more competitive players come into the game. Like I almost regret it bringing my friend Pete Ward into the game.
Oh yeah,
Um,
he came out of nowhere, man. I mean, I've been in this game for a bit, and I'm hearing the names, and I remember there was just a load of people saying about Pete, going, "Oh, Pete Ward
yeah,
this, Pete Ward that," and I was like, "Who the hell's Pete Ward?" And then they went, "This guy's Pete Ward in Utrecht." That was the first time I saw him, and he was just sitting there with his
yeah,
arms crossed, watching something. I was like, "That's Pete Ward.
yeah.
It's just this dude's
Pete,
crossing his arms. What's so crazy about this guy?"
Pete's a ruthless
Finalists,
murderer when it comes to card games. I've had the honor of knowing Pete since I wouldn't say 11, and Pete was 7 years old. He
right?
used to come to the small card shop in the village where I still live actually, and he would come with his dad. Pete was just 7, which is he's the same age as my little brother, who also used to play with us back then. And like both my little brother and Pete would just routinely beat adults,
Oh my
you
god!
know.
Right? Okay.
And I remember the salt that would come out of people when you got beaten by a 7-year-old child. Like you just this tiny little kid rocks up and beats you, and it's just like people. I remember like specifically like we went to Yu-Gi-Oh Nationals once, and it was not a match from Pete, but it was a match from my little brother who's the same age. My little brother's this tiny little ginger kid with a massive little ginger afro, and there's about 20 people watching this game, and he's playing against some like 20-year-old guy, and he just beats him, and just like everyone's just shell shocked, like. And so, like, that's how I met Pete, and Pete's been playing card games competitively ever since. So I remember a lot of people were shocked when Pete top 4 the battle hardened 2 days after learning to play the game.
Oh wow. Okay, and then
Yeah,
you're
yeah,
finalist in Utrecht as well.
yeah, and then finals the calling in Utrecht as well. And you know, like it's people say that's crazy that he just picked up the game, but like what people don't see is that like also behind that is like 20 years basically almost of playing card games at like a competitive level,
Oh
you
my
know.
god. Okay,
And so like
so nationals is going to be
hard,
pretty.
yeah.
It's going to be really hard, and wow. Okay, so I was playing some games today, thinking I'm not ready. I'm nowhere near as feeling as prepared as I was last year. I felt like last year I had this
Sure.
secret. I had a secret weapon with Viscera.
Nice.
No one was ready for this shit.
No one
Right.
was ready. You had a really good deck for nationals last year.
This time round, I'm like, I am not fucking ready for this shit. And the competition has massively ramped up with, like you said, Rob Catton, Mad Light, Joe Stamper, Jamie Faulkner, yourself, Pete Ward. We've got Shamir now, and we've even still got the same people from last year still
Yeah,
playing that
they're
have
still
hit in
really
with
strong players.
we've got just so you know, everyone, UK Nationals is going to be very, very exciting to watch because you're going to be seeing someone in there, and I'm probably calling this out pretty big now, and everyone's going to tell me I'm talking crap. But you're going to see someone that is going to potentially get into the higher levels of worlds. These are the players that are going to get some awesome results if they show up to worlds. Like these are the guys that are going to go to the big events. Like you got a pro tour and national champion winner right here into these UK nationals. It's this is a rough field to be in. So please pray for me as I play through this.
You're not such a
Oh no, but it's
you're
not
not
about
such
no.
an unaccomplished player yourself.
No, I'm
You
okay.
dominated the battle in Utrecht, right?
Yeah, luck would have
Oh,
it.
don't play it down.
Luck would
Don't play
have
it
it. No,
down.
anyway, but so are you excited for nationals, man? I mean,
Oh, I'm so excited. As I was saying, I said to you earlier, when I drove back from the Pro Tour, and I drove back not long after I won at 5, and then we hung around. We just enjoyed like everything that was happening afterwards. We just tried to like just take in like the crazy atmosphere afterwards.
yeah,
Um, and then we actually headed out and we drove home. I drove home all the way from Lille
right.
to Gloucestershire that night. Which was fine. It was okay. I got through it, but it was like I did have to take a few deep breaths to try and like remove some of the adrenaline to make sure that I was okay to drive.
You mean-
140 down the French motorway.
With a
Yeah,
trophy in your hand, like, get out of my way, please! I'm a Pro Tour winner. Just like you just
exactly.
cruise across the channel, like my car can float.
Yeah, it
Oh
was a bit of a
dear.
chaotic night, but we didn't like we didn't stay too long to appreciate all of like everything that happened at the end of the proto, but we did make sure to like speak to everyone I could, because like there's just I like for people that haven't met me, I'm the kind of guy that'll walk up to everyone and speak to everyone,
Yes.
um, like new players, like old players, even players who I know probably don't like me. I'm still willing to have a conversation and just get to know everyone. And like so that the knock on of that is that when I won, there were just so many people to speak to. It was just complete chaos,
Oh,
uh,
so
which was awesome.
but and you were saying to your friends on the way back that chatting about nationals, like do you feel ready for it? You're excited for it? Do you feel ready?
Um, I
You've given off your weapon now. Everyone knows what this mad shit
yeah,
is. I wonder what other
uh,
mad shit you've got because Prism's
yeah,
now
you got it.
gone. You're like,
Yeah, I
okay,
think I was saying this earlier. I don't know. I'm not necessarily guaranteed to be playing Briar again. And
lies.
like as much as I
What?
would love to, she's
Lies.
she's brought me a lot of success.
Yes, she
Like
has 2 wins
I
now.
was yeah, two big wins, and I was saying like I've a quarter of I've contributed 25% of killing Briar.
It's
Like
good.
I'm getting her there. And that's a bit sad because I really like the hero. She's really awesome. She's really fun. Um, but like I'm not a lock to play the same deck again. I think there is still actual unexplored territory in the format. And like while I do think that Briar is like a really strong deck, and while if I had to run it back this weekend, I almost certainly would play Briar. I wouldn't play the exact same deck. I would change some things to
Of
account
course.
for the change of Prism going, but like I wouldn't I wouldn't say now for sure that I'm playing Briar. She is a front runner. I'm not actually that secretive with my testing. Like I had a number of the UK players on the Briar deck on my Briar list for this weekend. You know, we had me, Pete ended up playing it, Isaac ended up playing it, Emad Kashi, Aaron Boyan, all those guys ended up playing the list. I even offered it out to a few other people. I offered it out at a price. I said, if you give me like just 5% of your Pro Tour winnings, you know, you can have the deck list. Because that way it's just like,
Yeah.
I put a lot of time and effort into this thing. Like if people just like take my time and effort and work without, you know, at least saying they appreciate it in some way, then it's, you know.
Yeah.
So like
Yeah.
I offered that deal on Thursday night because we were at the banquet.
Right.
We were at the banquet and we couldn't get all the cards for all of our decks because now suddenly, like last minute, a fair few people had sort of been working on their decks and we're like, I don't really like my deck. I don't really feel that confident in what I've got. And I'm like, I really like my deck. I think it's pretty good. Like, I'm not 100% certain. I've only got my experience and my thoughts, but I pretty much like it. I quite like it. I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really fun. I think it's quite good. I think it's like a bit better than the other Briar decks. And then people were like, well, if Matt likes what he's got, he's usually probably got something. And if it goes wrong, we can just blame him. So like, there's suddenly a bunch of people like swapped across to my deck, and we ended up having like 5 of us on it. Unfortunately, a lot of them didn't really have enough time to get as many reps in as I think a lot of them they would have liked. And I think the deck is quite involved. Like I think a lot of this week, people have messaged me who picked up the Briar deck, have played some games with it, and they're like, "How did you win with this deck? It seems terrible." Like I'm playing it, it does nothing. I just miss all my sonatas. I miss all my tomes. Like I keep getting punished. How did you play this deck? And like I think the deck requires actually it tests some skills that like aren't standard for Flesh and Blood players, which is playing with cards that aren't already in your hand.
Right, got you. Because I remember Shin when he dropped out of the Pro Tour, and he said, "I'm going to go to the call-in." So I don't know if you knew this little story, right? So he said, I'm going to now pick." He said, "Oh no, sorry." So this running thing that we do, which is what he's been doing with every road to nationals, is that he goes, "I don't know who to play, so I'm going to randomize it." And I said, "But I know who's going to randomize it. My 2-year-old little daughter. She's going to grab a dice and she's going to roll the dice, and whatever she rolls and lands on, that's who you're going to play." And she went, "Okay, cool." So we call it the Freya Fate, the Fate of Freya, right? So calling kicks off, and he goes, "Right, I don't think I'm doing very well because I don't think I've had the Fate of Freya." I was like, "Okay, I think you need it this time, bro." He went, "Right, I'm going to pick any other deck, 5 to 6, 4 to 6. It's any other deck, 1 to 3. I'm playing the Viscera deck I played at Pro Tour." Freya picks up the dice and she rolls a 4. It's like, "Right, bro, brand new deck." And he went, "All right, fuck it. I'll play Matt Foulkes' deck." So he scrambled around everywhere, picking up all the cards. And I think he drew some of the cards you had. And he went, "What the fuck is this meant to do?" And I was like, it's a high roll deck, man. If he's just got all this shit, he's just, like you said, you're just drawing cards and going. And he went, "No, I don't think I can. I don't think I'm ready for this yet. I'm going to play Viscera." To which then I sent him a video message of my daughter shouting, "I curse you!" And and the curse did kick in because he didn't do very well in calling either. But
yeah, fair. I do think that the deck does require a bit of time to pick up and go. It's not like it takes like some comfort with dealing with not like with a pretty heavy element of randomness and being able to like understand and use that randomness to still accurately play to your outs basically at all points is like difficult.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's any deck that we've seen. Maybe Kano actually. I guess Kano could fit into this, but maybe even not quite to the same extent as this list, where you play a turn with Briar often, and like you look at some hands and you're like, by the time I'm done, like I'm not actually going to know any of the cards I played this turn. Like when I start the turn, like I'm going to Tome of Harvest, draw 3. I'm going to Sonata X equals 2, look at some more cards. I'm going to cast a Tome of the Arcanite, look at 2 more cards. It's like I didn't know any of these cards were coming when I chose not to block my opponent's attack. You know, you kind of have to. You have to have enough experience and then enough foresight to be able to like make those decisions based upon probability and sort of estimation and understanding of what you think might happen. And then you also have to try and be able to break down, like, if I cast this Sonata, what am I digging for? What are my chances of finding, I need a blue, I need a red, I need a 3-power attack, I need, whatever. You need to try and, I'm not saying I'm some mathematical
No, but
probability wizard, but like you need to be able to understand how to play to your randomness and to the variance. And I think that's a lot of Flesh and Blood players aren't developed in that skill, because that's not a skill that Flesh and Blood tests a lot of the time. You're playing, you're working out, maybe 1 or 2 turns ahead how to play your hands that you have and your cycles, and setting up an arsenal for later, and you're not necessarily experienced in setting up that. So I think that's essentially like the deck's actually something that a lot of Flesh and Blood players I think probably struggle with.
it draws a shit ton of cards. That's the
And
one
it
thing
does.
it does.
It was in my winning in for the top 8 of the Pro Tour.
Yeah.
I actually started the game with an intellect penalty.
How come?
So basically, I played a match the round before, and one of my sleeves was slightly damaged, so I made sure to rip it up, just to make sure.
Yeah.
Can't get back on the card or anything. Ripped it up, but I didn't have any spare sleeves, so I just put the spare like extra sideboard card in my deck box unsleeved. And when I start a match, I always just count how many cards I have in my sideboard. I'm like, cool, I have 11 cards in my sideboard. I have the right number of cards in my deck, right? But then the extra card had got wedged in like with the equipment, and I didn't realize. So we get deck checked, and they're like, you've presented a 59 card deck, and I'm like, this is a disaster.
Right.
Because I just counted, there's 11 cards in my sideboard.
Yeah.
Which means I have 60 cards in my deck. I'd missed the 60th card, which was the unsleeved card, from the sleeve that had broken. And so I was like, oh, this is so stupid. This is like, it's just such a stupid way to lose a game,
Yeah.
And I was against Prism, so I took a second, took a deep breath, and I was like, wouldn't it be sick if I still won? Wouldn't it be sick if I still won on an IP? So I have to play with an intellect penalty, which thankfully I was against Prism, so it's not the worst.
Right.
Because you can just take slow turns against Prism where you just focus on killing their auras. You accept you're not getting a ton done, but as long as you can just slowly keep the auras like under control, which is often on a lot of your turns against Prism, all you end up achieving anyway, really.
Yeah.
It's just trimming away at their auras. And so I just spent a few turns doing that. And then in pretty much my first turn out of the intellect penalty, I had a CMH in play, and I cast a Tome of the Arcanite, flip 2, draw 2 cards. Tome of the Arcanite, flip 2, draw 2 cards. Look at my hand. My hand's absolutely crazy. Sonata for X equals 4, flip some cards. Put 2 cards into my hand. Play another Tome of the Arcanite. And when I play the third Tome of the Arcanite, we have a pretty sizable audience because we're playing on table 2 or 3, I think it was at this point.
Yeah.
I hear like gasps from the crowd, and I hit another blue and a belittle, I'm pretty sure, which meant I could now play. My hand was absolutely absurd. It meant I could go belittle, or like I could go play an attack, a 0-cost attack, play a belittle, play another belittle, creepers, Minnowism.
Oh, Minnowism. Yeah.
Play a belittle. Then I had a force as well that I think I found after that. I don't remember.
Right,
no, I played a Tome of Harvest that turn as well. I played a Tome of Harvest as well that turn. And I looked at it afterwards, and I was like, oh yeah, I played 15 cards that turn.
With an IP penalty.
Well, the IP penalty had been spent at that point.
Oh, okay, cool, sure.
I got through the IP penalty. This was like my first turn pretty much coming out of the IP penalty.
Right.
But when I hit the third Tome of the Arcanite, I literally heard gasps from the crowd. I was like, oh my god. People were like, oh my god. What the hell? And I was like, yeah, this is sick. But that game ended up being really close. Really, really close. It was against Prism, who tried to fatigue me. He had like an interesting take on Prism. And the fact that I'd started the game with an intellect penalty gave him like quite a lot of space and time to set up. And then I had to sort of battle back through that setup. And I only won the game on the last turn of time.
Right.
Or as we went to time on what was basically my last turn, I managed just to finish him off. It was real close.
My God, Matt.
Yeah, and it was
like a mad lad.
Guys, we absolutely took it to the wire. Yeah.
So,
but that's just an example of where the deck. That's people call it a high roll deck, right? But that's the ceiling is just otherworldly.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So, you're not sure you're going to take that over to nationals. What what's your thoughts on now that Prism is gone? What do you think that is going to do to the meta? Do you think it's a bit of an easy question because clearly it's going to do quite a lot.
Yeah, it's going to do a ton. It's going to do a ton. Like Prism is probably the most she's probably the most polarizing deck in that we've seen in Flesh and Blood.
Yeah.
In that she has a lot of matchups. She has some matchups that are kind of close. Like the Rune Blades are the Rune Blades and the Ninjas are always slightly poor, but not disastrous. Like not unwinnable, but pretty poor.
Yeah.
For her, and then she has this other group of matchups which are just complete buys, like the Guardians, Icelander, Dorinthia, all these matchups where these decks were effectively almost pushed out of the format by the existence of Prism.
Yeah.
Where if you were registering these decks for the tournament, you better be pretty damn sure you're not losing any other matches, because if you have to play a Prism at some point during the day, you're pretty cold.
Yeah.
You're pretty cold.
Yeah.
And so all those decks, both the Guardians, Bravo and Olin, Icelander, Dorinthia, even maybe Dromai as well, which I'm told, I don't know, I don't have too much experience with Dromai, but I'm told by reliable sources, Jamie Faulkner.
Yeah.
he did ask for, he specifically asked for a shout out, so there you go, Jamie.
There you
go. Was also keeping Dromai down. Prism was a big problem for Dromai apparently, and so now all of those decks suddenly just had one of their worst, almost an unwinnable matchup just removed from the format.
Yeah, absolutely.
And Briar lost one of its strongest matchups. I got the chance to play Briar in the top 8, and I was really happy to see that, because it's one of the matchups where I felt the most comfortable.
Oh, you mean the Prism matchup?
Yeah, the Prism matchup.
Yeah.
There's still a lot of play to the matchup, but I thought that Briar, and especially my version of Briar, which has Spellbound Creepers, and it has Belittle, which is such a strong way to start your turn into an ALS.
Yeah,
was very, very strong into Prism, and so you've lost that really, really good matchup in the field. So now it's really interesting.
Yeah,
I think that all those decks have some argument and some merit, but then whether or not they actually have just the base power level to compete with some of the other decks in the format is still up for debate. I know that Bravo is really strong and also a massive fan favorite. I think I've been trying to get a bunch of games in with Bravo this week. I know a lot of people are considering it for their nationals. We've got a few strong Bravo players here in the UK.
Yeah.
And so it's more adjusting, not just these new decks that come into the format, but then we have all the existing decks that now have to adjust for those decks.
Yeah.
And it's actually a really exciting time, I think, because for a lot of sideboards in Flesh and Blood, you kind of just have 6 Prism poppers, and that's most of your sideboard.
Yeah, you gotta have something for Prism, right?
Exactly. Every sideboard ever built just has an inordinate amount of Prism sideboard cards, because you got a lot of edge by bringing the 6 poppers, right? Or lead the charges. You had those were just really good sideboard cards where into a lot of matchups it can be the sideboard cards can be slightly more narrow, whereas against Prism all the sideboard cards were silver bullets. So now we have to really approach the game and sideboarding in a way that's never really happened before. You can't just say, well, I've got half my sideboard is Prism poppers and the other half is, well, some others, usually a fatigue plan basically. But now we don't have that. So we have so much deck building space and so much deck building innovation that can occur here. And I'm really interested to see.
The defense reaction side could probably be back in again, because there was a time before Monarch where you got to run some defense reactions. You've got to slam them in, because Dorinthia and Bravo are very real, and if you don't have them, you're going to get minced. And then, like you said, it's just defense reactions. Blocking. Why do you? Defense reactions are not that good, and now we're probably getting into that 4 of I don't know, man. I think
and that's why I said maybe. I mean, there's a chance that my Briar deck isn't necessarily the version of Briar that goes forward, because although I do think that the Briar deck I played was an amazing choice for the Pro Tour and for the meta that we played there.
Mm-hmm.
We're probably likely to see an uprising in decks which don't which need to be blocked, which have on hits so threatening that you have to interact with them. And my list doesn't play defense reactions very well. Playing Tome of the Arcanite and Sonata doesn't lead you to a place where you want to put 6 defense reactions in your deck.
Yeah.
But some of the Polish guys from the top 8, they had some really interesting lists. They actually already have defense reactions in their deck and have already cut Sonata. And I mean, I don't know if that was correct necessarily for the Pro Tour, but they did really well.
Yeah.
The Polish community is like always just crushing it.
They're very good. That's
sort of that's sort of the place where I'm starting, or at least looking at maybe innovating in the format, because I think they have some interesting ideas. And D-Reacts, as you said, used to be a big part of sideboards, sort of faded away a little bit there in the middle, in the in-between, but like maybe with Dorinthia and Bravo, like potentially poised to make a big comeback.
Maybe
we might see the defense reactions come back as well. So,
yeah.
Or maybe we're just still balls to the wall aggro, full send, never block.
You wait.
That's
that's what I think. That which is also kind of interesting, because we are one of the. No, we're not actually. We're not the first nationals. We were last year.
No.
It's Australia, which is this weekend coming up.
Australia and Austria as well. I think there might be a couple of them, but because I have I'm working with a few different Australians and Austrians in preparation for their nationals. I've been coaching a couple of those people, and like I have messages, some sort of panicked messages after the PT, like I'm trying to get ready for my nationals. It's next weekend. Can you help me? I'm like, yeah, we'll see what we can do. We'll see what we can do.
It's going to be very fascinating about how they sort of change, because whatever they're going to do is ultimately going to impact what people are going to do for us next week, right?
In the same way that last year we got to set the stage.
Yes, we did.
And that was awesome. That was like so cool that we ruined everyone else's meta games for the rest of the season. Yeah, so we're going to see a really interesting week between the first week of nationals and when our week is, where suddenly we all have to adapt to what we perceive this new meta game to be, and whatever the Australians come up with, and they're a pretty strong nation themselves. They're no slouches. You've got the Tall Timmy, an absolute stalwart of the game.
Yeah.
And my personal pick for a good result in Australia, I've got a lot of faith in the Tall Timmy.
Yeah.
He's putting in a lot of effort.
He's constantly giving you phone calls about how it all works.
Me and Tall Timmy speak on the reg. He's a great friend.
And we've also got Hayden Dale as well from Arsenal Pass down that end, and he's a machine when it comes to Australian results. He was last year's national champion.
Yeah, he is a ruthless competitor. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's gonna be really exciting. It's gonna be really exciting. Like Singapore's dash list certainly made waves into the Pro Tour. I didn't think it would. I thought it was fine. But I didn't think people were going to. But it turns out people really do want to see the winning decks, and they're willing to just try it and go for it.
Yeah. I didn't finish the story I was saying earlier. When we were at the banquet, we were looking for some yellow snatches, which is a really difficult card to find.
Yes.
Because when you say I'm looking for some snatches, they're like, oh yeah, I've got some, and I'm like, no, some yellow snatches. They're like, what's wrong with you? But I've been speaking to Tarek Patel about the Belittle Bri deck before it sort of come to the Promise and Plenty and the yellow snatches changes.
Yeah.
And speaking to him about it a few weeks prior, like when I was just sort of getting back into the format and trying to like sound out my ideas, and he's a great deck builder and just a great person to speak to whenever you're trying to just like work something out. He's a really smart guy. But like I hadn't given him the yellow snatches because he was like testing in a closed environment with some of the Australians and the New Zealanders, and so like I can't give him everything because he's got his own stuff, so gotta keep some stuff guarded. And I go up to him at the banquet and I go, Tarek, I don't suppose you have any yellow snatches? And I just sort of see his eyes widen as I can see the connections happen in his brain, that he's like, this man's playing Belittle Briar and he's got yellow snatch in his deck. Wait, should I be playing this? He's like, wait, is your deck broken? Like, and I'm like, I don't know if it's broken. That's pretty good. I could give you the list, for a fee.
Yeah, for a small fee.
But I said to him, I was like, I bet you're playing Dash at the Pro Tour. He's like, how did you know I was playing Dash? And I was like, because it's Thursday night and you look terrified and devastated, and you look like a man that's about to register dash in a pro tour.
Oh God. Oh,
But I think they ended up having a really good list. I played one of the Canadians, Joel Reptor, and in round 11 of the Pro Tour, and we played like a razor thin game, a razor thin game, which it
yeah.
came down to just one pistol attack more would have for sure won him the game. I couldn't give any more, and managed to win on the last turn with a Tome of the Arcanite flip into the absolute perfects, which is just really the tail of my tournament. You know, like
Tell me the Art Night, Christ. You
bit of a
know when
card,
you
yeah.
flip when you from my experience of using it in Viscerai, it always felt like if this lands, no matter what happens, if I'm on the if I'm on the down, I'm on the up, and if I'm on the up, I've won. This card just
Yeah,
wins you
you know,
games.
you're not always desperate to cast it,
No.
but it can really get you out of some spots where you're like,
Oh
oh, I
yeah.
need something crazy here. And it
Yeah.
can, I remember
Absolutely.
against in that match there, I had a 3-power attack in my hand, a blue and a Tome of the Arknight, and I went, oh no, I had a tunic counter. That's right. I went tunic counter, Tome of the Arknight.
Here we go.
I found another blue and a belittle, so now I could go belittle, reveal the attack, minnowism of creepers, weapon attack.
Hmm.
Off 2 cards when I started the turn with, and it's like 13 damage. And I was like, oh boy, oh, like I
This
flipped it
isn't
through, and
fair.
I remember I offered because I knew that it would basically probably be a flip for the game. Um, I offered the the second card. I offered the second card to my opponent to see if he wanted to flip one each, um, which is a fun way to end the game.
Oh,
When you know it's for all the marbles, you both take one card and then you flip at the same time, and then one player wins and one player loses.
oh,
It really amps up the gambling factor. It's actually I posted a video on my Twitter from the Calling Krakow
yeah.
where it was in the late stages of day one. We were both at elimination, so the loser would be eliminated, and the winner would get to continue. And I played Tome of the Arknight again. Um, winner continue. If it hits, I win. If it miss,
GG.
curtains close. And my opponent at that time was willing to flip, and thankfully my friend was watching. He's like, this guy's crazy. He got his phone out and recorded the flip, and I lose that flip, unfortunately.
Oh,
But
God.
Krakow was not my weekend. But
Well, we'll wrap this up briefly
yeah, sure.
with Worlds. So you're going to Worlds.
Yes.
I'm going.
Yes, I am now going to Worlds. I'm qualified, I think, like 4 ways over at this point. I think
You got many ways in, so you're in.
they haven't done the like Elo update yet, but I think I'm probably going to be second in the world on Elo. I think I would have been first, but Pablo just had to go and do it again.
No, what a
Just had
mad
to
lad,
go and put
right?
another. I mean, what also is crazy is that he's first in the world in Elo, and
Yeah.
he won a calling that didn't count for Elo.
What do you mean? What?
He
Hey.
won Madrid, yeah. He won the team calling in Madrid,
Oh, he did,
which
didn't
didn't
he?
give Elo.
Oh, it
Yeah,
was.
and then also crazy, the second in Elo is Alexander Vore, who also won a calling that wasn't Elo ranked.
God.
So, like, if you actually Elo rank those events, those guys are even higher.
It's That's very God. That's very scary to think.
Yeah, like those guys, there are some really scary players out there, and those two, Alexander Vore and Pablo, are both terrifying. But hopefully now I also qualify as terrifying, and I think I should be in there somewhere, pretty close,
Awesome.
pretty close.
What's your so you're going to be heading over to Worlds and
Yep.
Blitz? I'll say we're going to be short. Keep it short. What's your thoughts on the Blitz format entering into the day two? I understand why it
I'll
should be
keep it
day
short.
two.
I'll keep it short. I really like Blitz actually.
Good.
I think that there can be problems and issues with the Blitz format. It can be a bit too quick. Certainly it can, but I just like the idea that we are tested in multiple different areas, and like you're asked multiple different challenges, and it means you have to do more work across more formats to be a more complete player.
Yeah.
And so, like, while people just say, "Oh, Blitz is just like just short CC," it's just like it's not the same. like there's massive differences. Like right now, I think some of the premium decks, like the S tier decks in Blitz, are decks like Kano, Icelander, and like Dorinthia. Like those are honestly three of the scariest decks in Blitz right now. And like those decks maybe have a chance of doing well in CC, but would people call them like the front S tier? Like no, it's a completely different format, and those are decks that test completely different skills than the decks that we currently have in CC right now. And so to say like, oh, it's skillless, or like it isn't a different test, like for the players there is I think nonsense. And I'm excited to play Blitz at the World Championship.
Awesome. Well, Matt, dude, I'm gonna leave it here. It's been like coming up. It's almost coming up to an hour. Almost coming up to an hour.
I could go on. I'm sorry, Hamish.
No, you don't. I mean, we chatted for like half an hour before we even hit the record button. So I feel your energy, your passion. It's just it's so infectious, and for me, I can't get enough of it. But I'm gonna have to leave it there. Unfortunately, I can't wait to give you the get the interview when you may win Worlds. I'm looking forward to it. Or Nationals.
No,
Nationals is before.
Yeah, I was gonna say you got to get me when I win Nationals first,
Yes.
and then you can have Worlds. It's every week. Every week I'm back in.
He's back, baby. This guy, he's just not losing. Well, dude, thank you so much for jumping in and taking part.
Thank you very much, Hamish. I appreciate it, man.
Peace out.